Hey there, I am back. I'm Elisa, half Asian Tarot Queen. I kind of disappeared for a few days because, well, my dad was in the hospital. So I've been off the grid. But I did a love reading right before all of that unfolded. And I'm going to post it probably at the same time as this reading. And I'm sure all of that happened for a reason. So I'm just going to let it be what it is. Yeah, I'm going to start with the Radiant Wise Spirit Tarot to pull some overall energies, and I'm doing a reading for the new moon in Capricorn that's happening, and it's pretty exciting because I think they call it the cold moon, and it's auspicious because it's the new moon, the last new moon before 2020, the start of a new decade, so I just pulled the cards out of the deck, and this was at the bottom, the Wheel of Fortune, which is pretty appropriate because, we're starting a new decade. So, definitely some new beginnings coming online, a whole new world, It's kind of like that. So, I'm going to pull some overall cards, and we're going to tap into the new moon in Capricorn and see if I can get some insight into all the changes that are afoot. But I can tell for myself that for sure some big climactic changes are going down in my life. I mean, I've been camping out in the hospital for the last several days, and it's definitely a big shift. I just saw the King of Swords and the Justice card kind of flip over, and I just kept shuffling, but it's interesting because those are both kind of like Libra energies. And I'm going to pull one more card before we kind of launch into this reading, but, whoops, okay, all right, okay. Looks pretty climactic. So, oh my gosh, the King of Swords at the bottom of the deck again. So, this is a no-nonsense queen who's kind of head over heart, but speaking some sort of truth. He's in his power. He is speaking some truth. And, there's some power behind it, So that's happening. And then it's a double whammy because in the overall energies, I got the Ace of Swords and the Two of Swords. So a lot of air energy here around, truths coming out, being told with power and force behind them. And then we also have the Devil. So this could be a Capricorn, which is interesting because, as I mentioned, it's the new moon in Capricorn. But it also can be toxic energy. So right before that we had the Two of Swords. So this can indicate, indecision or not really knowing, being a little stuck. You're kind of blindfolded, not seeing a path forward, and you're kind of blocking yourself from the truth. But then the truth is here, So there's some sort of blockage around some sort of toxic energy, and it looks like the truth is undeniably coming out around this situation. And this has been a theme that's been really coming up in the readings a ton lately. There's been, for example, in the thread Epic Love Saga, there's been like this deep love connection that's been blocked for some time by a toxic energy. So you could look up that thread, the Epic Love Story. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have the Judgment card. So yeah, some truth is coming out, and there's a judgment happening. So this is pretty epic and pretty apropos for a new moon in Capricorn reading. And then we have the Six of Cups, which indicates soulmate connection, and oftentimes it'll indicate a deep soulmate connection from the past. So there's some judgment happening, and this is interesting because this has been a theme, and like I said, in the epic love story thread, there has been this epic love that's been oppressed and blocked for some time by a toxic situation that's been needing to be brought to the light. And looks like there's some huge climax that's happening around that for this new moon in Capricorn. So it's like we're not carrying this BS forward into the new decade. We're like leaving this in the past. So there's a big change that's happening, and this has been happening, and it's like been like this slow motion train wreck for a while, but a train wreck that needed to happen in order to usher in a new beginning. So clearly there's these toxic energies that need to be left in the past. I can say for myself that something in this nature has been for sure surfacing in my three-dimensional world. And it's interesting because sometimes, like when you're in a situation like this, it's hard to see the forest for the trees sometimes. You know, it's like I was getting like confronted by outside forces that change needed to happen, and you know, I was just like so blocked and so entrenched in it that it was hard for me to even have perspective on it. So it's like almost like for a while I was really defending the toxic situation, which I had known had been oppressing me for some time. But, you know, because it was impacting so many lives, I had kind of come to accept a situation that was really bad for me, you know, out of guilt, you know, for the impact that it was going to have on other people. And even when confronted by outside forces about what a horrible situation it was, like it was really confusing for me to like let it go, you know. So that's a thing, you know. It's these big changes can be really confusing, and it's really hard to see the forest for the trees. Okay, so I had extra pop out. Yeah, so it's interesting because this Ace of Cups just popped out, but then we also had the Four of Cups, so it's just like there's this love coming in, but you're not seeing it, like you're not accepting it, you know. And that's almost like what's been happening for me, you know, like what the kind of the story that I was just describing. It's like this big opportunity is coming in. I was being confronted by outside forces about what the blockage was, and I was like defending the blockage because I was just so entrenched in it and been so oppressed for it for so long that I had accepted it, even though it, you know, when it first happened, I realized that it was a bad situation for me, but because I was kind of in a situation where I didn't have a choice, I had grown to accept it over time. And then it's sort of like at the end of the Shawshank Redemption, where it's just like after a while, you know, you've been enclosed in the walls for so long that you start to depend on the walls almost. And so when you get your freedom, it's like you almost don't recognize it at first. So yeah, the end of the Shawshank Redemption. I've been feeling that for sure lately. Okay, so anyways, back to the general energies of the reading. I'm going back to my tried and true Bianco Nero deck because, you know, I'm really trying to get some clarity because this is a climactic moment. We've got the King of Cups, we've got the Moon, and we've got the Queen of Wands here. So this Queen of Wands has been coming up a lot. This can often indicate the other woman, but this is a powerful queen who's learned how to harness the power of her emotions. And, you know, fiery and passionate, but figured out how to harness the power of her emotions to manifest things. And then we have the King of Cups on the other side. So this is you know, a king that has a lot of empathy and compassion and operates from the heart. You know, his power comes from his heart. So it's like both of these have kind of figured out the power of their emotions and how to harness that, but kind of in different ways. You know, we're in this with this fire and passion, it's like harnessing your emotions to sort of like manifest in the world certain outcomes, you know, in the three-dimensional world, sort of. And this is like operating from like a heart space and being like in command of your emotions. So kind of like different expressions of the same energy in a way. And then, interestingly enough, in between them we have the moon. So it's almost like this deep connection between these two energies. So then, when I keep going, we have the Four of Swords, the Ten of Pentacles, and the Strength card. So it's interesting because this Ten of Pentacles has been a recurring theme also. So there's a thread on the channel called Dynasty, and it's all about this family dynasty or this deep emotional love connection that's been blocked for some time by a toxic energy that needs to be brought to light. And so this has been a recurring storyline on the thread. But what's interesting is that we have this deep love connection, and we have, you know, this family dynasty, this fruition of like, you know, abundance and like a family structure. But then right on top of that, we have this toxic devil energy, which is interesting because this totally confirms this storyline that I've been speaking of. And then we have this King of Cups on this side, who's, you know, he feels deep emotions, but, you know, he's kind of balanced. He's, you know, he's operating from a place of balanced emotion. And this guy is kind of in contemplation, like he's pulled back from this situation, and he has this Two of Swords above him. So he's kind of at a stalemate or an indecision, and he's contemplating because he's not sure what to do. Obviously, there's this other woman on the other side, so this seems to be like his counterpart that maybe he's trying to figure out, you know, what to do. And then, you know, meanwhile, we have this, you know, this conflict between the Ace of Cups and the Four of Cups. Like, which way do I go? Like, what am I going to do, you know? And then, underneath this Queen of Wands, we have the Strength, and we have the Ace of Swords. So it's like this Queen of Wands, this other woman who's been this fiery, passionate queen that's just been manifesting from the power of her emotions, and you know, she's strong. You know, she's kind of on her own, and she's figured out what to do, and she's standing in her truth because, you know, at the end of the day, she knows what's up, you know, and she's not fooled by this toxic energy. And this toxic energy has been trying to oppress her for some time, but she's just like, no, this is the truth, and I'm standing behind it, and I'm not going to fall in line under this toxic BS, you know? She's just like, she's tougher than that. Like, this is one bad, you know, bee. Like, right? Like, and she's got the truth behind her, you know? So she's just kind of like, you know what? If you're going to be stuck in this toxic bullshit, like, excuse my French, you know, go ahead. But, like, I don't care, because, like, I'm telling the truth, and I'm living by the sword. And, you know, if you want to get stuck in that crap, then you go ahead. But, like, she's just like, I'm standing in my truth, and I don't give a rat's you know what you do, because this is what I'm doing, you know? Like, this is a tough lady, you know? So I'm going to pull 3 cards of guidance from the Radiant Wise deck and see if we can get some, oh my gosh, insight on how to move through these energies. Wow. Ooh, oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Okay, and so then we have the Five of Swords here on the bottom. So this is like a lose-lose situation where there's not really any winners. Like, this person's come out triumphant, but at what cost? Because these other people have, you know, are walking away wounded here, you know? So at the end of the day, whatever this toxic situation is, it's been a bad situation for a long time, obviously impacting a number of people. And, you know, I think with this new new moon, there's like an opportunity to kind of like move on from this situation. And I think that's kind of what this lady's, she's just like, I don't give a crap, like one way or the other. I'm like moving on and moving into a new life because I don't, you know, I don't need this, you know. And then meanwhile, the guidance for this King of Cups, who's kind of been stuck in indecision, is he the wish card, you know. It's like, which to me, I'm taking that as, look, dude, stop trying to please everybody because you can't. At the end of the day, what you need to do is you need to follow your heart, and you need to go after your wishes, because you're not really doing anyone a favor by perpetuating this situation, this toxic situation that's harming so many people, right? And then it's almost like this is turning into a relationship reading. So yeah, as far as this dynasty goes, that's, you know, there's a lot of emotion here. There's this toxic energy that's blocking it. The advice is this slow and steady wins the race energy. So like this has been coming up a ton too. So this Knight of Pentacles, this is the slowest moving knight in the deck. So it's just like a slow and steady effort. And this theme has been coming up a ton. There's a reading called Co-Create Your Destiny. There's one last week as well. So I'll try to link one or both of those readings here that are obviously related to this storyline. And then, interestingly, behind this Queen of Wands, who's standing in her power, and she's got the truth behind her, we've got, this is really interesting, because this is a recurring theme too. So this Page of Swords, so another sword, you know, a message of truth and clarity coming out. But this can also indicate a stalker energy, which is interesting because there's been this stalker energy that's been orbiting around this toxic, it is the root of this toxic situation. And there's even a whole thread around this storyline called Stalkers, because there is this epic love saga. And this has been coming up in the Dynasty thread and the Epic Love Saga thread, which I've referenced both of these already, has been blocked for some time by this stalker energy, and the truth needing to come out about this energy. It's been, you know, blocking sort of destiny from happening for a long time, you know. So this, and again, this storyline's like come up a lot, a bunch in many other readings. There's been like, there's a thread or a video called Murakami Climax, where the truth was coming out around this situation. There's one right after that called Stalker Comes to Justice, that kind of gives some more insight and clarity around that specific situation. So I'll try to link those, though I can only link 5 videos because that's as many as they let you, and there's more than that being referenced here. So I'll try to link as many as I can, but I'm also trying to mention the title so that if this is a storyline that resonates with you, you can go back and look. I'm going to pull a card from the Sacred Traveler Oracle deck, and then also, because this is a new moon and it is the new moon leading into a new decade, I'm going to pull from the Moonology Oracle cards as well, because it seems pretty apropos. But let's see what we get from the, oh, just got 2 cards that flipped out from the Sacred Traveler. Oh my gosh. Surrendering to the journey, release control. So I think the advice here is, you know what? The truth is out there. We don't need to block the truth from coming forward. It's like, I think there's been a reluctance to put the truth out there about this toxic situation out of not wanting to hurt people's feelings. But at the end of the day, you can't kind of protect people from their own karma, and especially at your own expense, you know? Like, the truth is the truth. And so, yeah, sometimes people get hurt, you know, but you have to trust karma. And you're actually, it's bad, bringing bad karma on yourself by blocking the truth from coming out, you know. So you got to release control and just like surrender. So that's some advice. And then we have passion and pleasure, savor your life. So it's just like, you know what, just have faith in the journey and just be happy. You know, it's okay. Like, it's perfectly okay if that's your karma to be happy, you know. So savor this moment and appreciate it for what it is. Like, don't block it like you're blocking your own karma, you know. This is definitely a lesson that I've had to learn, because it's just sort of like, for me, there was a super toxic situation that's been blocking my way. I mean, and I don't even think it was like maliciously toxic, but it was just based on a lie, you know. And it had a profound impact on my life for years and years and years. And, you know, like, I've finally been liberated from it. And people got hurt, you know, from the truth coming out. But at the end of the day, it was the truth. And it was their karma for that truth to come out. And so it's unfortunate. And, like, I felt a lot of guilt over, like, hurting people. But it's just like, at the end of the day, I can't hurt myself to block people from their own karma, like, because that's bad karma too, you know. So, yeah. I'm going to pull one more card from Moonology, and we will end the reading. But, yeah, this looks like a climactic end to the decade. And, you know, these storylines have been coming to a climax for a really long time. So hopefully, you know, we can just like come to some sort of resolution with some of these storylines to start the new decade with a fresh start, because that's a huge theme around this new moon, like, is a big fresh start. I mean, it is a new decade. Oh my gosh. Okay. So, I'm just going to take 3 of these. So on the bottom we have, your commitment is being tested, the first quarter moon. So it's like, yeah, it's hard, you know, like, these big changes are difficult to move through, and they test your resolve, you know. But changes are hard, and, you know, you can't block your own destiny, because all that does is support toxicity, you know, and that's what we need to leave in the past. And then we have full moon in Taurus. Your dreams need a practical plan. So, you know, we're moving forward into the 3-dimensional reality. Like, we're not thinking about it and wishing it anymore. It's actually coming into fruition, you know. So accept that, you know. Surrender to the journey. This is actually the one that's on the cover of this whole deck. And then, finally, we have the new moon in Scorpio. Work through your fears. So, you know, it's scary. Like, these big changes are scary, but it's okay. You know, like, accept. Like, there's a huge healing that's happening. And by, like, no longer accepting these situations that are oppressing you and blocking you, there's a huge internal healing that's happening. And you're going to attract a completely different life to yourself by just letting the pieces fall and just accepting. It's ironic to me because, like, for me, there's, like, a lot of there's been multiple situations involving Scorpios that have been, like, really oppressive to me. So it's interesting to me that this energy is shifting, because for sure, letting go of these situations, I'm noticing within myself this huge healing event that's happening with my perspective and the situations that I'm attracting to myself by just, you know, letting go of situations that were toxic to me, that I had been hanging on to and accepting for a long time, you know, and just, like, letting the truth be known and letting my wishes come true, and just, like, a slow and steady effort. And yeah, like, letting this stalker come to justice, you know, in particular, this situation has been horribly toxic to me for a long time. Okay, well, on that note, I'm going to get showered and get back to the hospital, and I wish you a happy holiday. And yeah, I don't know, my readings might be a little more sporadic for immediate future, but you know, we'll just see how it goes. I'm just taking it day by day. So have a good new moon and a happy holiday, and talk to you later.